Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, episode 103, at the end of March 2022, and I note that the first episode was in March 2020 when the lockdowns started. So 2 years should mean 104 episodes. So not bad, is it? 103. We welcome you whether you're watching on YouTube or via your podcast. In this week's episode, my big idea is to explore health more deeply, your health in particular, and share 12 rules for optimum health. I am healthy. How do I know? I've adopted a definition of being healthy, and it's based on the Hungarian word egeszseg, meaning wholeness. I'm whole. And whole is, in my view, the unique optimum balance for me and for you of mental, physical, and spiritual elements, balancing these three crucial elements to what makes you a human. I explore health as a mix of mental, physical, and spiritual. And I share 4 key factors in each of those 3 elements that give you 12 usable, practical rules. I'm sure they'll help you find more optimum balance. Being healthy is such a wonderful state to be in. Perhaps some of today's strategies may provoke you to take better steps for better health. For regular viewers and listeners, we have changed the format of the show. You're now able to get into the unique content each week more rapidly. The foundational principles of the Charles Kovess Show and my background are now contained after each week's unique content. So, what's happened this week before we get into an exploration of the big idea? Well, I'm going to start a new segment called Sudden Deaths and Injuries, or shall we call them unexpected deaths and injuries, or deaths and injuries that don't seem to have any cause. So I'm going to start naming names. Shane Warne, 52. Rod Marsh, cricketer, 73. Senator Kimberley Kitching, 52. Chris Foreman, Rothschild banker, 48. Dave Sims, Worcester Warriors rugby player, dead, 52. Dean Wallace, Essendon footballer, heart attack, not dead, 52. Sonny Colbrelli, heart attack, world-class cyclist, 31, not dead. Taylor Hawkins, Foo Fighters drummer, 50, dead. And there's a list of 779 world-class athletes who have been seriously injured with heart attacks or died. Of the 779, 500 have died. Isn't that strange? During the week, governments around the world have attempted to impose more totalitarian rules on their citizens. I urge you to fight back against totalitarian rules, of dictatorial rules, of discretionary rules. If you don't fight for your freedom, you will lose it. The tragedy is that most people would rather give away their freedom for security. However, your government's greatest enforcement is to put you in jail to take away your freedom, and yet you have this, or not you, many people have this illusion of, keep me safe, I'll give away my freedom to keep me safe. Is that the way you want to live your life? There are exciting groups around the world who are resisting this totalitarian trend. There's the USA Truckers Convoy. There's the Canadian Convoy Truckers Ongoing. There are groups with which I'm involved right around the world that are fighting for freedom. If you think freedom is important, please join them. And please understand, with a federal election coming up in Australia, wherever your elections are, to make sure that if you're interested in freedom, that you vote for those who are willing to fight for freedom. And in Australia, none of the major parties are interested in freedom. During the week, the Ukraine geopolitical situation continues to be full of misinformation, of half-truths, of stories about Russia being the bad guy, Ukraine being the good guy. Interesting, hey? How everyone's suddenly become an expert with not having much knowledge. Of course, my parents came to Australia from Hungary because of Russia's totalitarian imposts on Hungary. They didn't want to come to Hungary, but they didn't want to be under the foot of Russia. Also during the week, the 250 rich list of the richest people in Australia was released, and this rich list is very instructive, everybody, because the average wealth of the 250 richest people in Australia increased from $1.8 billion each, $1.88 billion, 1,880 million, 1.88 billion, up to 2.08 billion. That's a $300 million increase on average. Isn't that interesting? While small to medium enterprises are being hammered in so many ways, by people's lives are being stuffed around, the rich have certainly got richer. Big business has certainly profited at the expense of the small to medium sector. And I say there is deep collusion between big business and government. And indeed, and this is globally, not just in Australia. So the rich list, they've got richer. To give you a comparison, I've got the 2021 rich list from the Financial Review that showed the 200th wealthiest person last year was worth $590 million. This year, the 200th wealthiest person is worth $640 million. So $590 million to $640. So on average, that as a measure, it's gone up by $50 million over the course of 1 year. So that's a pretty interesting factor to take into account as to think about who is doing well under these totalitarian freedom-stealing rules. During the week, I also hosted my episode of the Mind Medicine program on TNT Radio. Please tune into that. It's a 24/7 global station, tntradio.live. And lastly, the South Australian election was held last week, and the Conservative Liberals were thrown out, and the Labor Party won that. And I point out that the Liberal Party in South Australia is as woke and as centrist and centrist left as you could possibly be. And I'm glad the Liberals lost that election because they didn't deserve to be there. Steve Marshall, the Premier, his performance was, in my view, simply nothing to do with liberalism, nothing to do with conservatism, nothing to do with freedom, nothing to do with people being rewarded for effort. So politicians, be aware. You will pay a price. And everybody, think about who you want to be representing you. Don't fall in the trap there's only 2 or 3 choices. No, there's many more, and there's many more minor parties coming into being all around the world. And lastly, during the week, I've had a good week. Julie's had a good week. We've had a good week together. Exercise goes on, so whilst I'm fighting these battles, I'm loving life right now. I don't live my life saying, I can't be happy in this moment. No, I'm happy now because I'm alive, Julie's alive, we're alive. We're living in an amazing time with plenty of challenges, but every time has its challenges. So, now to this week's big idea. I want to go deep on your health. I've been thinking, how can I be of value to you for your health while I'm drinking my coffee? I can feel it doing me good, this coffee. As it goes down my throat. Coffee. So, I thought through during the week 12 rules that I follow. I'm going to share these with you, and these rules work. How do I know? Because they work on me. And these are key rules, principles, strategies that anybody can use and then apply them into their own circumstances. You can apply them into your circumstances. I've adopted the definition of health in the Hungarian language, and the Hungarian language is very precise. The word health in Hungarian is egeszseg. One word, egeszseg, meaning wholeness, being whole. You are healthy when you are whole. By the way, the Hungarian language has accents. One accent or two accents or two dots. And I tell this funny story about this word egeszseg, that if you leave one of the accents off so that it goes egeszseg, it means a whole new meaning. But I won't tell you what that meaning is because it's a bit rude, but be careful where you put your accents. So, wholeness. And I say that being healthy is the unique optimum balance for you of mental, physical, and spiritual elements. Those three factors. Unique, optimum balance of mental, physical, and spiritual. So I've decided to distill what I do, how I stay healthy, into those three elements and give you 4 strategies that I observe in each of those 3. So 4 by 3 makes 12 for those of you who understand maths. Number 1, exercise, movement. Now bear in mind I'm giving you 12 rules, but then each one of these, as you're thinking of them, has a unique mixture, a unique element, a unique application for you. So exercise. You must exercise your body. You must keep moving it. Use it or lose it. What you eating. So exercise. Number 2, eating, your nutrition, which includes your vitamins and minerals. I was going to have that as a separate one, but I thought, no, what you put in, the fuel that you put into your body is a crucial health element. Number 3 for your body, for the physical part of your life, is elimination. So exercising, eating, eliminating. My dad taught me a long time ago that the greatest cause of disease is constipation. So you must be eliminating, and one of the key ways to ensure elimination is to be properly hydrated, which goes on to the eating side. But that means in the realms of 2 litres of water a day, lots of water. Your body is made up of almost 80% of water. Most people are dehydrated. When you're dehydrated, you do not eliminate, you are constipated. And the 4th factor, the 4th rule for your body is sleep. What is the right amount of sleep for you? So, exercising, eating, eliminating, sleeping. Goes nicely, doesn't it? 3 E's plus an S. Now, on the mental side, physical, mental, spiritual. Now on the mental, 4 rules. Number 1, your vision. The mental picture that you have of your vision for what you are building in your life. And part of that is your goals. You have a vision and you have goals. So that you've made this decision of what direction you want to head. What do you want to build in your life? The second rule on the mental side, learning, ongoing learning, constant learning and growing to keep developing this mind. Again, if you don't use it, you lose it. You must keep learning. The world keeps changing. The third rule for your mind is to be willing to make mistakes. You must make mistakes because you cannot learn if you have a terror of making mistakes. And this fear of making mistakes traps us into paralysis. And you don't progress. And then because you're not progressing, you don't feel good. And you're not healthy. And your mind atrophies. So a mental decision that you make is the acceptance that you have to make mistakes through that learning process. And the fourth rule is that you are surrounded by weirdos. So mentally, you must be willing to forgive people for being weirdos because they are weirdos. And if you get distressed because of the behavior of other human beings, you will be unhealthy. You will be slowed down. You will be burdened. You will have an anchor dragging you. This acceptance of weirdos liberates you from holding grudges, from living your life wishing people were different. So they're the 4 rules on the mental side. Now we go to the 4 rules on the spiritual side. We're up to rules 9, 10, 11, 12. How about that? On the spiritual side, I have a purpose. I have a meaning for my life. And passion, the reason why passion is so important is because passion gives you a clue for the fact that at a soul, at a spiritual level, there is a sense of why you are on this planet. There's a purpose for you, a meaning. I have a purpose. I have a clear meaning. Purpose and meaning are quite interchangeable. I don't want to get too technical here. But one of the rules is to have a purpose for your life. The second spiritual rule is to forgive. Forgiveness is a spiritual activity. Be willing to forgive those who hurt you. That is the great challenge of Christianity. The third rule on the spiritual side is to have fun. So a key to being healthy is to make sure that you're having fun, adequate fun, so that you are not just immersed in work, in driving towards your goals without having this balance. Remember, we're talking about balance, mental, physical, spiritual, not being so focused that you live your life and ignore all other parts of your life, and then you surprisingly get unwell, get sick, get cancer, and you die. Having fun, enjoy this journey. As I've mentioned earlier, there are people dying suddenly, people being injured suddenly. You never know. We never know when the end is here. So why wouldn't you live your life in a way where you choose to have fun on that journey? And the last spiritual rule is having faith. I believe there's a God, not a bloke in the sky, but I believe there is a spiritual realm that guides us, that God has a plan, that there is a game plan, that it's part of purpose, but one of the things that keeps me feeling fantastic is that this whole thing is just a game. At a deep spiritual level, God is observing this planet and going, wow, what are they all worried about? So having faith is one of the spiritual rules that enables me to have balance of the mental, the physical, the spiritual. And each of these 12 rules, how you apply them is going to be different to anybody else. That's why it's a unique optimum balance for you. So how are you going to apply these? And if you apply just 1 or 2 of them, it can make a massive difference. 1% shift in your behavior, in your thinking, can make a massive difference over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. If 1 or more of these are significantly out of balance, life becomes tough, life becomes a struggle, and then that struggle impacts on other parts of your life, and you don't feel healthy. You don't feel this high energy, this vibration of good health. So, how then do we apply these? So, let's get on to our tips. My health tip is to decide which of these 12 rules are the most important for you on which to focus. on which to feel about, what shift might you make in that area of your life? Where are you significantly out of whack, out of balance? My spiritual tip is going to be combined with my song tip. And it came about from yesterday's interview with Bruce Copley of South Africa, Dr. Bruce Copley, a total genius in terms of music, in terms of learning, in terms of sound. And his advice and my advice, we had this conversation around it, that when you sing out loud, particularly when you sing your favourite song out loud, sing a song. When you sing your favourite song or songs out loud, it shifts you from a mental space to a spiritual space, because music is the language of the soul. So I urge you to sing out loud like Julie sings in the car when she's by herself. She sings out loud, and it doesn't matter whether you sing in tune or not. Singing creates this vibration in yourself and takes you from your mind, a mental space, which is where fear comes from, into your spiritual space. My book this week is by Dr. Anne Quinn, a friend of mine, How to Be an Extraordinary Athlete. And in her book, excellent book, she goes through all of these elements of balancing these elements in your life, because you can't be an extraordinary athlete if you are way out of balance. My quote this week is by Benjamin Franklin, get this, in the 18th century, with what's been happening on our planet. When you look at the amazing advances in medicine, he said back in the 18th century, the best doctors give the least medicine. The best doctors give the least medicine. And I say the medical profession has absolutely shot itself as a generality in the foot with its total capitulation to government dictates. Everybody, the best doctors give the least medicine. Go and find the best doctors for yourself. And lastly, my spot of humour for you is an old married couple driving down the road, had a terrible car accident, killed themselves. Both had lived good lives, they went to heaven. And a couple of weeks after, they're in heaven, and the wife says to the husband, darling, isn't heaven a wonderful, wonderful place? And her husband says to her, yes, darling, heaven is a wonderful place, and if you hadn't had me on all those health foods for so many years, I would have been here years ago. Love it. You see, there's a price to pay for being healthy. You might live a long time. So, think about how today's big idea can make a difference to your life. I can see how it can make a difference to your life. A life that I believe is meant to be all that you're capable of making of it, and be the healthier you are, the more capable you become. My aim for this show is to motivate you, to inspire you, to provoke you, to examine your life, to raise your self-awareness about your life, and to keep doing so for the rest of your life. This game of life is an ongoing journey. It's not a fixed and done situation, because the circumstances around us keep changing. I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoy this show, please share it amongst your family, friends, and work colleagues. Go and visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Covest.com is for corporate programs, public programs, and charlescovest.com is for the self-awareness and passion quest, the in-depth one-on-one coaching program. You can access my books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, at those two sites. If you are new to the show, stick around for the next part where I discuss the foundational principles for this show and my background. Again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Until our next show, may your week be full of health-giving passion, of insights around your health, of learning, of fun, of fulfillment, challenge, and ever-increasing self-awareness. Thanks for being with us. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covest.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.